themselves the elite.
If not us, who?
A little bit of the bubbly.
And if not now, when?
We don't care about race or gender or sex or religion. If you're an elite athlete, we want you.
This is an official declaration of war.
Change the world.
We are going to change the whole universe!
This is what you call a paradigm shift.
This is a family! This is a revolution! We can never stop!
All elite wrestling.
For the 45th time, it's Friday morning. And you know what that means. It's time for the next chapter of the only professional wrestling podcast that is changing the world every week. This is Seeing the Elite, an AEW podcast. I am your host, Bryce Reed. I am joined by my friend, my co-host, my tag team partner, Mr. Jonathan Davis.
What's up, dude?
If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. Jonathan and I are two friends, fans, lovers of professional wrestling who are here every single Friday morning with all of the latest news from All Elite Wrestling. Thanks to our EVPs Chris Genro, Christopher Toumpas, and our supporters on Patreon. Every week I get on here, I talk about our Patreon, our pay what you want subscription service that helps us make the show better and better every week. But this week is extra special because our Patreon bonus issue is out. JD and I did an hour and a half of AEW game pitches, bold predictions for 2020, and questions from our community. And we're going to roll monthly with these special episodes that you can only get them through Patreon. Subscribers get a ton of awesome perks within our community, as well as bonus episodes, access to show notes, and getting to watch us record the show live. All of the money that we make goes towards making the show better for all of you. This show will always be free, but if you love what we do and you want to help us do more, please head to patreon.com/seeingtheelite. That's patreon.com/seeingtheelite. This is not a sports entertainment show. It's an entertaining sports show supported by fans like you from all over the world on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, and podcast services everywhere. Subscribe, review, give us 5 stars. Just like Meltzer, it makes us feel so sweet. Jonathan, how sweet?
Too sweet, buddy.
Facebook.com/seeingtheelite, Twitter @seeingtheelite. But if you really want to be in with the crew, with the super AEW homies from all over the world having a blast last night in the discussion, you got to get an invite to our Discord server. And the best way to do that, tinyurl.com/seeingtheelite. That's tinyurl.com/seeingtheelite. Shout out to our champion, equals Scorpion 1. As always, JD on the time codes. But we've got a huge show ahead of us, a massive week of AEW happenings and news, so we're going to get right into it with a quote, as we always do. Quote, guys are making more, and they are not afraid to ask for time off like before. We know these aren't guaranteed contracts like WCW, but Vince is more accommodating these days because he wants to keep everyone happy. So that wall has been torn down. Some people are getting offered more money with a better schedule. We have AEW to thank for that. So I would say thank you, AEW, for being around. This was an uncredited source that was making the rounds throughout the week, saying these things. Now, we've known these things for some time, just because it's a reality of any business that competition would make someone pay more to keep talent around. But it's particularly interesting to examine here after what felt like such a monumental week in terms of like proof of concept for creative vision. In some ways, obviously we'll talk about other things that happened throughout the week. But I was sitting there watching the show last night from Chris Jericho's Rockin' Rager at Sea Part 2, second wave, and was thinking to myself, man, being a talent at WWE right now, watching this, you must be like, they're on a fucking cruise ship? Come on! You know?
Yeah, it's one of those things, like when you're watching this and like this is only the second time they've ever done something like this.
Yeah.
And like I know, celebrity-ish cruises and niche cruises have really taken off in the past 5 years.
WCW did cruises.
Did they?
Yeah, a while. They at least did one. I know. But yeah, the idea to me that WWE has never done something like this, I'm like, really? Because it seems like a layup for you guys.
Yeah, and I mean, when we were talking about it, it's like, to me, it's like, yeah, I can see why they haven't done it, because Vince couldn't maintain complete control over it. But the amount of money that they're throwing away by not doing this is like astronomical.
Dude, they could charge so much money for that experience, for the experience that AEW just put people through out on the boat.
And I've seen the prices for the Jericho cruise. It was very reasonable for what it was. Next year, maybe not so much, but this year was pretty. It's right at the price point you would expect for a cruise. I know how much WWE charges for their WrestleMania packages. They could easily charge that same amount of money, if not more.
And they would spend less money doing it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because, when they do WrestleMania and Access, they have to rent out that giant hall and, move all that stuff in. On the cruise, just off of, motherfuckers paying $300 to take a picture with The Undertaker. So just imagine all of the fan experiences they could offer and make money off of on a cruise ship. And literally every talent would go because, hey, also you get to spend 5 days on a fucking cruise.
And get shit hammered.
Right, and you're paid to be there. Yeah. Yeah.
Look at for anyone questioning this, look at Moxley. Moxley literally got fucking blackout drunk and went to karaoke and sang Sweet Caroline. Now, he maintained the eye patch, which was a solid move, but you can tell Moxley was pretty hammered.
It was, it's just wild to me, man. And
you just think, oh, yeah, you're on a WWE cruise. For $700, The Undertaker can chokeslam you in the pool. How many people would go for that?
For $600, you can do a shot of whiskey with The Undertaker. That'd be low. People would pay $1,000 for that shit. I'm sitting there as a talent, were I a talent, I'd be sitting there like, oh man, they get to do cool stuff. Oh, how come we never get to do cool stuff? How come we always got to go to fucking Saudi Arabia?
Yeah. Where half the talent gets left.
Rankings this week. We're going to talk about them. We're going to continue to talk about them, even if they're completely
these ones are fucky.
Yeah.
But I mean, just looking the past 1 year in AEW, just when you look at all the cool stuff the talent has got to do. They did a Vegas show. They've done Chicago a bunch of times. They've done crazy shit like last week.
They don't have to work house shows.
They don't work house shows. They work as much as they want to.
They're slowly building a package for talent that's so enticing that any amount of extra money that Vince could throw on top of it is just kind of okay, but I could make a good living over here. I wouldn't have to work so fucking hard, and I'd get a bunch of cool perks with it. So
yeah. All the talent in AEW literally work as much as they want to.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man.
It's wild. The tags division. Let's talk about the tags division. Number 5, the Lucha Bros. Number 4, the Dark Order, who have moved up. Now, I wonder why the Dark Order have moved up. Did they win a match?
Yeah, they won a dark match that hasn't been shown yet. It's kind of fucky. That's why I texted you this morning, hey, you really sure we should talk about these? Because it's kind of fucky.
And I responded with a bunch of Z's because I was asleep.
Yeah. The Dark Order are now, and they won they won their dark match that hasn't aired yet.
So they're moved up in the rankings. Yeah, I don't like that they format the rankings this way.
If
they format the rankings after matches have happened, but before they've aired. So I would be more fine with the way Dark works if things are only counted once they air. And I understand why they don't do that because it feels very feels like you're denying the fact that these are taped ahead of time, but you kind of should, because if no one can see them
besides the people who are in the room,
right, then it's weird to count them.
Yeah,
but
I have no any other opinion than that. It's like, if you're going to do this, then you have to make sure that when you're releasing the rankings Wednesday morning, that everything you're changing has happened the previous night because of the dark matches you've aired.
Right. Number 3, Young Bucks. Number 2, Santana and Ortiz. Number 1, Hangman and Omega. Now, the champs, of course, being SCU at the time. This has now changed with Hangman and Omega being the champs, and SCU moves down to the bottom of the pack, or what? I don't know.
Who the fuck knows? They'll probably be the number ones. I wasn't it was just crazy, man. I wasn't expecting that at all, but we'll get to that. But yeah, that's another thing that's weird, like, especially, and that's partly because of when we record our show.
Right.
That by the time we record, the rankings are kind of meaningless, but not really.
Yeah, not as bad as they used to be. And I think they're still worth discussing. Britt Baker at number 5 in the women's division. Awesome Kong at number 4. Chris Statlander at number 3. Hikaru Shida at number 2. Nyla Rose at number 1. I feel like Nyla moved up because of she must have also had a dark match or something.
I think so. I think the only I don't think the women's rankings actually changed that much. It was really the tag team and the men's hit really.
Well, I know. I'm pretty sure Shida was number 1 last week. So, with of course Riho at the top as champion in that division. But now Nyla's there, which okay. I'd like to see some movement towards what's going to happen at Revolution with that. I understand we're kind of building. They have enough time that they're sort of confirming 1 match a week, basically.
I would rather they build the story with Nyla than put her in a championship match.
I agree. I mean, I'd rather it was Sheena in a championship match anyway, but yeah, I need. We're going to talk about the women's division. In the men's singles division, Sammy Guevara at number 5, Kenny Omega at number 4, Cody Rhodes at number 3, Pac at number 2, and Jon Moxley in the number 1 contender spot, which of course hasn't changed even after this week's TV. Chris Jericho at the top as the champion. Pac, man. Oh, man.
Yeah, so Pac went up, Cody dropped down, and Kenny dropped down, which makes sense because Kenny's now in tag division.
Right. Man, I want to talk about the fucking content this week because there's so much of it, and so much of it was so good. Being the Elite number 187, Marty. In the cold open, the Bucks are enlisting Kenny in their attempts to reach out to a recent free agent in Marty Scurll, who doesn't seem to be answering the phone for Nick and Matt. He answers for Kenny immediately, of course. With Nick and Matt's blessing, Nick even saying, quote, offer him everything, offer him the book, which I thought was awesome. Kenny offers Scurll a very good deal, EVP status, and $650,000 a year. Marty agrees, and the boys begin celebrating. There's only one problem. Kenny didn't call Marty Scurll because he thought that they meant Marty Jannetty. Kenny Omega says himself, "Oh fuck!" Before the sequence ends. I thought it was really funny, and Kenny's like overacted breakdown at the end of it, I thought was really hilarious. We then move into the title sequence, and then out of the titles is sort of the resolution to that. The Bucks demand that Kenny call Marty back and rearrange the contract situation while they go and get some food. Kenny suggests that they at least give it a try, maybe for a year, and Nick and Matt say that they can't because it's, quote, WCW spending, end quote.
I mean, it's not like they hired Russo or something.
Yeah, no. Nick even says, "Do you want us to hire Bischoff too?" I thought it was so funny. Kenny agrees to call Marty back as we segue into some very nice drone footage of the Watsco Center. Of course, Cutler now flying around with the fucking drone. As he puts it to good use throughout this episode.
Yeah, they may have. I think the reason why we hadn't seen this yet is they may have, and this may be like corporate, may have asked him to actually do like legit training with the drone before they're going to turn him loose with it.
For insurance purposes?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. It's really cool. And like I said, I wish they would use drones more. In the filming of the show, but apparently that's an issue with all sports. Like, they're really trying to find a way to make them work for sports broadcast. And
yeah, it's still just such a weird area.
Because it seems like it would be ideal to run the whole thing on drones. And controllers, just because they get in the way less than a person with a camera does, and they don't have to have a wire and all this shit, you know.
Yeah, but the consistent problem that I've seen with drones is that the Wi-Fi chips and stuff inside them are very poor. So to stream the content from the camera flying above with a weak signal down to the controller and then feed it into production van, they haven't perfected that.
Well, you'd think that there'd be a company making industrial grade
They
broadcast drones.
They are. It still doesn't have good chips in them. Because that's the problem. Is they're like, oh, we need a 4K camera in it. And like, okay. If you're going to record a movie, sure.
I mean, I think if you're creating a professional product now, you should probably have a 4K camera. Even if it's not a movie. Just because future-proofing.
No, that's fine. What I mean is, like, if you're trying to stream 4K wirelessly,
right?
Yeah, there's no, like, if you're just recording it on the drone,
yeah,
and then you're bringing the drone down and taking the memory card out, it's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
To try and live stream it down and hit all those connection points, not so much.
Yeah, that's a lot of data to move over a wireless connection.
Yeah.
That's
what we need 5G for, man.
The Bucks have a discussion about coffee in front of the Watsco Center, and Matt talks about how he just bought an espresso machine for the EVP dressing room that travels with them on the road. The sole purpose of which seems to be a setup for its use in a later scene.
It's also so extra, dude.
They talk about their excitement over last week's 4-year extension for Dynamite, which, man, must be a weight off their shoulders, but I have no doubt that they were super confident that that was going to happen before it happened. It's one of those things where, like, they have to pretend publicly like they weren't sure, but I'm sure that they could feel the temperature in the room, and we're pretty sure that was going to go through.
Probably. I read Meltzer actually did a really good write-up on this. Is like everyone had kind of expected them to get a renewal.
Yeah.
It's just how soon it happened came out of nowhere.
Yeah, and now we get drone footage from the inside of the venue, which I think is why I want to see it on the shows so bad, is because being able to put the camera anywhere in the venue is such an attractive idea to me, and the footage looks gorgeous in this shot that they did. So that's sort of my biggest hope for the future of the company, is that they sort of try to find a solution for that, because I think it would really improve the way that the show is shot, to be able to it's almost like having a virtual camera within a video game or something like that. Like, you can literally just put the camera wherever you want to put it. And that's a very attractive idea to me as a viewer.
It's not so great as a viewer in the room, though.
Well, I mean, it's better than that fucking giant crane cam that they have.
Agreed.
Like, wouldn't you rather it was just like a fucking relatively tiny drone cam that was flying around or whatever?
Yeah, and especially since we got punished pretty hard by that camera, at All Out, but
yeah, it wasn't so much that we were going to chant about like, move the thing or whatever, right? Like,
no,
it's a
that was
TV
the guy
show.
that were like 3 rows above us.
Right. It's a TV show, I get it, but like, I don't know. I think that's preferable to having a cameraman hop up on the fucking ring apron and shit like that. Like, I'd rather it was just a little tiny robot flying around. Later,
The issue you really don't want to have is you don't want to be like hovering down and some drunk asshole is like, what the fuck's that? Get that bird out of here and start throwing shit at it.
Don't hover that low. For the love of God. Later in the EVP room, Matt is making Kenny a cup of espresso when Hangman comes to the door and asks for Kenny. Hangman pulls Kenny out into the hall and asks, on account of the fact that they will be wrestling the Bucks later that very evening, if Kenny would come down to the regular dressing room and suit up with his tag team partner as opposed to suiting up in the Ivory Tower with the people he's supposed to beat tonight. Kenny recognizes that he kind of fucked up here and understands Hangman's feelings. And Hangman makes it pretty clear that this opportunity means a lot to him, and I think his acting here really sold it, which was nice. Kenny ends up taking his espresso to go down to the
and then Matt's like, "Oh, it's not done. I'll drink it out of the spout.
Right.
Oh, it burns."
That was hilarious. And oh my God, there must be an espresso stand on the floor of like every venue that they go to.
It has to be, man.
Next is a Leva segment that is exactly like the one from a few months ago, except this time it's unbearably long.
It's way too long.
Leva and some random guy that we've never been told the name of take books around to different wrestlers, and the only saving grace here is how rude some of the wrestlers are to Leva and this random dude. Janela mistaking them for door-to-door evangelists is fantastic.
I don't want to join the Jehovah's Witnesses.
He's like, I tell you guys every week. I'm just trying to enjoy the beach. I thought that was great. And after a couple of harsh rejections, Leva takes a hint and suggests an alternative activity. She says, "You want to sit and look at K-pop with me?" And the random guy says, "Oh, God, no. K-pop sucks. It's worse than these books," which I thought was amazing.
He's not wrong.
Leva ends up firing the guy because he's just not Peter Avalon in the end. And that's the end of the segment. Fine, but again, just like
way too long.
Way too long for a joke they already did a while ago.
Yeah.
And then just did a longer version of here. But I don't know.
They just continue to try and get this librarian thing over, and it's like it's not working.
The librarian, I think Leva ends up on the show so much just because she's fucking willing. And she comes to the bat every week with something to do, and Cutler leaves it in because Cutler thinks it's funny or whatever, right? But I think it's literally I think the protocol for BTE is like, hey, if you think of a bit, talk to Cutler and do it. We'll talk about it in a moment because, or in a while, when we talk about Britt Baker. But the biggest issue with all of this is that everybody's friends, you know? So.
Yeah, and like my issue with all this is like if that's the criteria, then maybe we need to start shortening BTE or start making it go away.
Yeah. Next, Kenny gives Jannetty a call back, and Jannetty hands the phone off to Shawn Michaels. The idea that they just hang out together all the time is very funny to me. Shawn Michaels quickly shifts the conversation to many topics of exclusive personal interest: hunting, Jesus, wrestling Adam Cole. And there's a great quote from Kenny. He says, "Yeah, he was pretty good when he was still alive, I guess." End quote. Just fantastic.
Yeah, because he's dead.
Yeah. Next,
that's why fucking Britt Baker's a necromancer.
Yeah. Yeah. Necrophile.
Both.
Next, Luchasaurus is having a nightmare about Shima on the top rope. Shima leaps into the air, and Luchasaurus is jilted awake in his nightshirt, which depicts a meteor hitting a dinosaur. Luchasaurus says, "Not again," and then hugs his little doggy that he has. The joke here is that Shima's top rope finisher is called the Meteora, and Luchasaurus is afraid of meteors because that's how the dinosaurs died.
This was so fucking funny to me. That's like the next level kind of shit. He's like, oh, I can't do it again. Not again.
Right. It takes a little bit of knowledge, but it's because that movie is called The Meteor. And it's because they were facing Shima on Dark and the Strong Hearts on Dark. So it's kind of a build-up for that, too, which is cool to see that it kind of immediately ties into the next piece of content in a roundabout way, because you would only have to watch both to be like, okay, that's why they did that. In the next scene, Orange Cassidy tries to open a water bottle, but it provides to be too much effort. So he's just like, whatever. In walks Chris Statlander, who attempts to help Cassidy by opening it for him. She does, but manages to squirt half the bottle all over Cassidy in the process. No words are spoken, and the sexual tension between the two of them is unbearable. The crowd footage of Mox driving GT into the Watsco was awesome. And then we're back outside behind the venue. Orange Cassidy sticks his thumb out, and Sean Bird pulls up in the Ford GT.
Is that who that was? I didn't know I thought it was like fucking Santana for some reason.
No, it was Key Grip Sean Bird. He says, "Sup, man, need a ride?" And Orange Cassidy says, "You insured?" Sean says, "Sure am." Orange Cassidy says, "Our survival?" And Sean Bird says, "I don't know what the heck that is." And Orange Cassidy says, "Yeah, me neither." And then he's like, "Hop in." And he's like, "All right, cool." Kind of weird. I assume this was maybe like a movie reference that I couldn't pin down, or something.
I don't know. It was just fucking funny.
It was weird. In the next scene, Jen Decker is on her phone when Sammy Guevara slides up. Sammy starts laying his thing down, and then in comes Marco Stunt for the block. And an argument ensues, during which Decker manages to slip away, and Leva slides into her place. And the men are so busy just shushing each other and shushing who they thought was Jen Decker that they don't see that it's Leva until she grabs them both by the fingers and sort of shushes them away.
Yeah, I want more of this, and I want this to lead to a match because it's fucking gold.
Where unbeknownst to Jen Decker, they're fighting for Jen Decker.
Yeah, especially it started off of the random interviews, and this is money, man. I need more of this.
In the final scene, after 4.5 hours on the phone with HBK, Kenny finally asked to get Jannetty back on the phone. After agreeing to guest train for HBK sometime at the Performance Center, Kenny finally gets Marty back on the phone, and after so many words, fires him. Marty is so hurt that he says he's going to put his kid on the phone and hands the phone back to HBK, which I thought was hilarious. Kenny gets Marty back on the phone and says that what he meant to say was that they're firing him from the $650,000 contract and calling him back for a $1 million contract. He does then follow this by saying, "Don't tell the Bucks about this, or anybody." The Bucks return from lunch, hungry for an update from Kenny Omega, and Kenny says, "At the very least, we are no longer paying Marty Jannetty $650,000 a year." Kenny says he just had to give him a little, quote, hush money like rich guys do all the time. And I got a guest train at the PC, end quote, at the end, to end off the episode. Kind of a funny running joke there that I liked throughout the episode, and they kind of framed the whole episode using it because there was a lot of material to get through for it. But, BTE continues to be, as it has been in this era of Dynamite, a funny little project.
Yeah, it's hit or miss, and like it's 75% good,
right,
every week.
Right. What followed this on Monday, I think, was
this has been like Sunday, Monday night now.
Was a Road to Bahamas video, and I'm going to talk about it briefly. I didn't write down a bunch of notes for this only because you got to go and watch it, man.
We will never really be doing very in-depth stuff on these because these promos are stuff, they're things we can't replicate at all.
They're so goddamn good. They cut to an incredible promo after some recap from Pac that if you're a fan of AEW, you absolutely need to see this promo. The man is a future world champion of AEW. What a fucking master. I am all in on Pac in the way that I am all in on very few wrestlers in this company.
So many people, while they were watching this, thought that this was Marty. Because they really think
I think he's better. I think he's fucking better than Marty.
No. They thought it was Marty because they've never seen Pac in like real clothes.
Sure. He's always got his shirt up.
Yeah, and he starts out and they have a very similar haircut and the beard, and you're like, oh, and they're both English.
Right.
And it's like, oh, okay, Marty. Oh, it's Pac. Okay, I'm down.
He cut an unbelievable promo, man. He's so good, and I think he's a guy who's going to have a run with that title that people tune the fuck in for because he's ridiculous he is good at everything you need to be good at to work in this company. After that is a fucking heartbreaking promo from Jungle Boy's sort of last days with his father. And he talks about how he was at dinner with his family when he got the call for AEW and his dad's sort of reaction to the news, which was a really wonderful story to hear. To close the show, they did a Dynamite theme in the style of the Love Boat theme. As they showed the match cards, which was absolutely beautiful. But I hope they played it on the loudspeakers throughout the weekend because I thought it was awesome. Let's get into some news. Fight announces that AEW Dark will debut tomorrow, January 21st, for AEW Plus members. Now, this headline is outdated because it's already debuted for AEW Plus members. This comes from Angel Rodriguez at WrestlingNews.co. Fight is proud to announce an exciting new addition to the AEW Plus subscription. AEW Plus is the popular subscription service that features the live AEW Dynamite program every Wednesday, completely commercial free, with special behind-the-scenes content for just $4.99 per month. Beginning this Tuesday, January 21st, AEW Plus subscribers will gain access to the entire AEW Dark weekly series as part of their subscription at no extra charge. AEW Dark episodes will air live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time and show highlights of the best Dark matches from the previous AEW Dynamite episodes. There was a longer version of this press release where they talked about them being ad-free, which is funny because they're ad-free on YouTube too, currently. I'm mostly...
well, sort of. If you don't watch the live, quote, streaming premiere,
yes,
you can get an ad or two because of the length of the video.
I'm surprised that this wasn't the case from the beginning because it seems pretty easy. Like, if you're putting it up on YouTube, you might as well put it up on Fight. But I guess it's exciting if you're a subscriber who likes to watch things on Fight.
It makes sense how they're doing this because they were, by putting it on YouTube first, they draw interest on YouTube because everyone can watch it on YouTube.
Right.
Adding it to Fight later is like the bridging the gap between YouTube and TNT.
Right.
So it's like, it makes sense. The thing that gives me a little bit of concern is the that last sentence that shows highlights of the best Dark matches. Not that they're showing the Dark matches, so
it's the same show.
Oh, okay.
As somebody who has this service, it's the same show.
Okay,
I think they just
sense.
say highlights because it's an acknowledgement that some of the Dark matches,
some matches
are edited,
cut, yeah,
a little bit,
or just not shown at all.
Right, or just not shown at all. for some reason I can't fucking imagine an AEW Plus subscriber who has Fight TV but not access to YouTube. That's exciting news for you. Otherwise, it's fine. You know, it's like, oh, okay, cool. Dark 2. Awesome. Speaking of Dark, AEW Dark number 16, which was recorded on the 15th of January, 2020 in Miami, Florida.
Supposedly, this is half of what will be... They recorded essentially 2 episodes of Dark last week.
Yeah, they recorded like a shit ton of matches. And considering Dark now appears to be cut down to a half-hour show, is their target time, because it's been the time they've done for the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, and what I read of how they recorded and then got the tapes of Dynamite to TNT, it makes sense why they front loaded it to do the extra matches, because like they had no way of really getting Dark matches from the boat out.
Yeah. This year, anyway.
This year.
Excalibur and Taz are on commentary all night long for this one, and it's great. But again, the show is only 29 minutes and 40 seconds long, which is fine. It's a fine length. Honestly, I feel like an hour is a long time.
Yeah, I agree.
The first match is Diamante, the debuting Diamante versus Big Swole. And I felt like Gordon Ramsay during this match, because, like, finally a good fucking match, you know? I was blown away by how fucking good this match was. These two killed it. It was awesome. You feel the flow and psychology throughout this match, and the crowd really picked up on it to the point where they were kind of split between both women at the end. It wasn't sloppy. It wasn't confused. They took their time, but it didn't seem like it was because they forgot what they were doing, like it would with some of the women that work in this company. It just felt right. And the funny business with the chancletas that Diamante was doing was I feel like on the good side of stupid.
Yeah, it was just like this. Like it's almost crossing the line, but it's not the Jabali Nakazawa match.
Sure. Or the Freddie Mercury stuff, right? Like,
yeah, I think this one was really just that it felt so refreshing and surprising that it was still kind of an average match.
Yeah.
But seeing women do this made it better after all of the bad that we've seen.
Yeah, it doesn't take much for 2 women in this company to have a match that I'm like, yes, this is what we want. There was only one exchange near the end that I felt they weren't quite up to full speed on. And it suffered a little bit because of that. But Big Swole won with Dirty Dancing. And I felt
like they just like they weren't confident in it.
Yeah. And they know that.
Yeah.
You know, when you're a performer and you mess something up, like you get backstage and you immediately know. You're like, oh, wow, we needed to work more on that because that didn't work at all. But, man, I thought it was great, and hats off to both these ladies. I hope to see more from them in the future. It was here that they announced a new date. They'd already announced it on Twitter, but this was their sort of content announcement for it. Wednesday, March 18th, Rochester, New York, Blue Cross Arena at the War Memorial. I think that's funny only because they pushed the Newark, New Jersey date as being the last time they would be in that area for a while, and then they announced Rochester, which is pretty funny. Although they seem to be making a distinction between Rochester, because it's upstate, and what they call the tri-state area, even though I feel like Rochester would qualify for that. It's just
no, it doesn't.
It does really.
I don't know why.
I thought it was tri-state, and New York is one of the states.
I think it's tri-state, and they do that like because it's I don't know.
It's an area within the intersection of 3 states.
Yeah, but it's also because you have the 3 basketball and hockey arenas within such close distance. Like anytime the Rangers play the Devils, it's a Subway Series, and the same thing with when the Islanders. It's like you have that just I can't think of the words. It's that collection right there of all those stadiums where you have that saturation point of it's like you can go here, then here, then here in a 3-night radius.
I mean, sure, definitely, because
but it's still silliness.
They're not. It's not wrong to say that Newark, New Jersey, is pretty goddamn close to New York City.
Yeah.
Depending on traffic, it's like half an hour to an hour away.
Usually an hour.
Yeah. So, usually on the larger end of that. So, the Newark, New Jersey date is definitely closer to New York City than Rochester. But I would definitely say that Rochester, and especially because it's New England-ish area, right, where everything's kind of close together, Rochester and Newark are not so far away that I would be like, oh, it's the last time we're in the area, and then announce Rochester right after that. But
no, I don't think it was that they were like, oh, it's the last time we're in the area. I think it was just that big win because they're in Vince's territory.
Yeah. The final match of Dark was Jurassic Express versus Strong Hearts, which I thought was good. Marco Stunt got a lot of fun sequences in this match specifically. Strong Hearts worked really well together, super stiff. Probably the best match I've seen from them. Jurassic Express finished with this awesome double team maneuver between Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus for a pin over Lindemann. I
think they repeated it on Dynamite this week.
They
or
may,
something very
they may
similar
have,
to it.
I hope that they did because it's awesome. But I thought it was, I thought it was good. I thought it was a trios match. They're doing more and more trios matches, which lends credence to this idea that supposedly a trios title is in the works.
That's the big rumor right now.
Which, if they feel they have the people to run a division on that, then cool. I think they probably do. Trios title, I think, is smart because they have singles, they have doubles, and then they have trios. Vince isn't doing it. I think it's potentially a really cool idea.
What would be interesting is that there's no gender restrictions on it.
Yes. So they could kind of have their cake and eat it too on the mixed tag thing. Right?
Yeah.
But after this, at noon on Wednesday, they released a third match, Joey Janela versus Phoenix, which was taped at Miami. They called this a Rock and Rager bonus match, but it's not on the boat at all. It's from Miami. It's about 15 minutes in length. Phoenix starts the match with bandages on his lower back, and commentary and the cameras both call attention to this. The match was great for both guys, very stiff, pretty exciting throughout. People believe that Phoenix sustained an injury during this match, most likely off of a corkscrew package pile driver from Janela. And because it's Phoenix, we really have no idea. But as we discussed last week, he did require assistance to get to the back, although it's important to note we've been fooled by that before. Janela finishes the match with a Macho Man elbow, which I guess he's trying to make into a finisher.
Let's do it.
I'm totally okay with. Yeah, like if he wants to use that as a finisher, I think that's great.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, to me, this match was kind of meh. It was very slow.
Yeah.
And they didn't really have the best chemistry.
No.
It was a very stiff and exciting match, but I feel like Phoenix kind of started the match, with the bandages and everything. It felt like he kind of started the match against the eight ball, and then he got slower as the match went on.
Yeah, it did feel like people are kind of blaming this match for the injury, but I think maybe there was something going on beforehand.
Yeah, and it may just be like he'd pulled a muscle or had some muscle cramps or something, but it felt off, like really off for him.
In another piece of news, Cody announces AEW Dynamite will air live from Chris Jericho's cruise in 2021. This comes to us from Jeremy Lambert at Fightful.com. Following the AEW Dynamite taping on Tuesday, AEW Executive Vice President Cody Rhodes announced next year's Dynamite will air live on February 3rd, 2021 from Chris Jericho's...
Is that the name?
What?
of the cruise? Really? For fuck's sake.
I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read it out loud for the people.
For fuck's sake.
Chris Jericho's Rock and Wrestling Rager at Sea triple whammy.
Stop letting this motherfucker name shit.
It's so long. Hey man, where you going on vacation? Chris Jericho's Rock and Wrestling Rager at Sea triple whammy. Have you heard of it?
Are you having a stroke?
Wrestling Observer Live noted that for this year, AEW had 2 master tapes recorded of Dynamite, with 2 separate chartered planes used to deliver the tapes to Atlanta, the headquarters of TNT, to ensure that the show airs Wednesday on TNT. And so when we talk about Dynamite, because we're about to talk about Dynamite, it's
I've also
important
heard
to know,
that the planes landed at 2 separate airports.
Did they really?
I believe so. There's the big airport in Atlanta, and there's also a smaller one outside of town.
Mm-hmm.
Like they had one land at Hartsfield, the big one, and the other one land at the smaller airport, just to cover their bases.
Wow. So it's important to note as we talk about Dynamite how little time they had to edit anything. Because
the editing that they did do was pretty decent, and that's really going to be the kicker next year during the cruise.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you probably have a couple notes about it, but there were a lot of times when the edits were mainly just to bleep out the crowd because they were very wild.
Oh yeah.
And if we're doing that live next year, they're going to fucking bleep half the goddamn show out.
Chris Jericho announced the 3rd cruise for 2021 on Tuesday. The cruise will set sail on February 1st and return on February 5th. The ship will depart from Miami and sail to Grand Bahama Island before returning to Miami.
I also wonder if JR will go next year because he's been complaining like hell this year.
Oh yeah, on Twitter?
Yeah.
Complaining about getting paid to go on a fucking cruise?
Yes. Like Bahamas customs was a nightmare, never again, all kinds of shit.
Oh, what a cool guy.
Yeah, fucking granddad. Complain more about something you're not paying for.
And complain more about having arguably the greatest job in the world. Jesus Christ. It is funny. So, first of all, to talk about Dynamite from Nassau, Bahamas, from January 22nd, 2020, the first thing that needs to be mentioned is the atmosphere. And the setup and the graphics, everything I thought was fucking incredible. And I think, because we joked about Hog Wild and stuff like that. When
Bash at the Beach many years in a row.
Right, when they used to do the nitros in the middle of a pool, right? I think wrestling is at its best when it feels like it just happens like a fighting game, you know? Like here we are at a place that's not supposed to have wrestling, but then there's wrestling in the middle of it, right?
Yeah.
And this was absolutely that. It felt like, like we said a week or so ago, like it felt like you got invited to a party on a boat and the setting, the place that you were in was enticing enough, let alone that there was a great wrestling show happening there. The only compromise it appears that they had to make is that it looks like they were forced to use a smaller ring in terms of dimensions, like maybe an 18 by 18 or a 16.
It was an 18 by 18 because the deck of the boat required it. The layout of all the wrestling shows on the boat were an 18 by 18. This is something they had to do the last time for the cruise because if they wanted to do a 20 by 20, then they couldn't have half of the crowd would not be able to come to the show.
Huh.
Because like of where they have to put the ring, it's not like they can move shit on the boat.
Right.
The hot tubs are built into the deck. The pools are built into the deck. Yeah, they probably could do it in a ballroom, but what the fuck fun is that?
Yeah, that's not as fun as doing it on the deck. So
I think next year for the cruise, especially with how well this one went, they will probably be on a bigger boat,
right,
which may allow them to have a regulation ring.
And it's really interesting because if WWE had done this, they would have put a hood over the ring so that they can get the same lighting that they get in any venue. And AEW did,
because we need that purple light.
Right, AEW did the smart thing and just, yes, they had additional lighting that they set up, but it was different lighting because it's a different situation that they're in. It's a different setting that they're in. So they didn't bring a bunch of extra equipment so that they could be in a new place but have it feel like every other place that they work. Like, it felt different because they were willing to sort of compromise on the lighting a little bit. It felt a little more shadowy. It felt a little more directionally lit than a typical show inside of an arena would, where there's a ton of light that you can focus on where the ring is. I thought it was really cool, and the whole thing just felt exciting, felt new, felt different. And the more sort of non-traditional venues they can work like this, like Daly's Place, like whatever, like, I'm in favor of it because it just makes the show feel so much more interesting and important.
Yeah, it definitely does. It makes it, and it's just a lot more fun.
Yeah,
and like I know there's been tiny complaints about maybe movement of some of the move sets were limited based on the wind last night, which is a fair criticism. It's nothing anyone can fix.
Okay, but it's one episode.
Oh yeah, it's not like, oh, this ruined the show for me, but it was more like, oh, okay, I guess they did have to kind of change things a little bit,
right?
Which is like, yeah, that's fair. And that's another one of those things like why Vince would never do this is like he's not in 100% control of everything,
right?
He's not going to do it.
It is funny that the episode was shot dockside.
Yes,
they were docked throughout the episode, but they shot it at night, so you couldn't really tell. Although they did upload like a pre-show to YouTube, and you could tell they were dockside. And they cut in a bunch of drone shots while the ship was out at sea, so it seemed like the ship was out on open water. But
even though everyone knew, and commentary said, yeah, another boat just pulled up into dock next to us.
Right. So I thought that was really funny that they kind of tried to fake it, which is just hilarious. The opening match was Page Omega versus SCU. Hangman's flavor text for this was hoping this would be a booze cruise, which hilarious. I love that. This was, it was a great match, blah, blah, blah. Fuck all that. We got to skip to the result here. I cannot believe Hangman and Omega won this match.
Nope. I'm in complete amazement. I mean, I'm glad they did. It was very exciting, and it's awesome that we have a new champion. Man.
It was nuts.
And that's the kind of thing that we need on this show is that titles can change on TV. It's not guaranteed a pay-per-view. It's perfect, but it was also like, what the fuck?
Yeah, with how often they pull the title match on TV thing in this company, yes, you have to have somebody actually fucking win on TV. And when you're only doing 4 pay-per-views a year,
even more so.
You got to do it. But I was shocked. Legitimately shocked. And I don't disagree with the decision because I don't know enough about where the story's going to judge if it was a good move or not. But
I think it was just more shocking to, like, really both of us. It's that they put it on the non-actual tag team.
Yeah. Yeah. Really weird. But I think it's probably, both Hangman and Omega are really accomplished singles wrestlers. I don't think it tarnishes SCU that much, but it gets... if they're just going to use them as a transitional, then it gets the titles on another tag team while SCU can still say, hey, like, you didn't beat us, like...
Yeah, absolutely. Plus, like, they built drama in the match between Hangman and Kenny.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be some interesting stuff as well.
Mm-hmm. The match had some solid psychology and was, I think, probably the right opener for this card, but I wouldn't say it was like an adrenaline shot or anything like that. It was really solid and really engaging, but it's not the acrobatic superhero fight that we typically see in the best opening bouts for Dynamite. Phoenix, Nick Jackson, right? That sort of thing. The match is close to 25 minutes and was a fucking battle, man. I love that it was Hangman who basically finished off both Sky and Kazarian on his own at the end of the match. And you could tell that, like, this is the first significant win for Hangman, and I think he really needed it, and I think it's great for his character to hold the titles.
Absolutely agree with that. He's needed a win to set himself apart, because every big match he's lost it.
The Bucks came out to celebrate with Hangman and Omega after the win, and Paige went into the crowd to pound some brewskis and crowd surf a little on all the people there at the Rock and Wrestling Rager. Right. The match that followed that was Priscilla Kelly versus Dr. Britt Baker. And I'm worried because I do not think that I can talk honestly about my opinion on this match without seeming really, really negative.
So let's talk about the good thing first. Priscilla Kelly was great.
Hello, Priscilla Kelly. Wow.
Fucking loved her.
She was great. She's awesome, and I'm excited to see more from her.
Yes. Absolutely.
I thought the match...
And then everything else sucked.
I thought the match was okay. Britt was brutally sloppy throughout. Even on the simplest moves, it was like, oh, whoa, okay. Decent first singles showing for Priscilla Kelly.
She did what she could.
I want to see her work with stronger opponents, obviously.
And I think she will be fine. She has a similar background to Paige, where she's actually been in the industry a long time.
Yeah. So
I think you put her with someone who can actually wrestle, and you're not going to have a problem.
They edited you are right. They did edit a lot of crowd swearing throughout the night. Beer must have been cheap aboard the Jericho cruise.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, with your cabin, you got a drink package, which that for people who've ever had a cruise, that means all you can drink.
Yeah, well, and apparently they all had champagne bottles in their rooms.
Every cabin got a bottle of champagne. But yeah, like usually you have a drink package, and like it's all you can drink, but it's what changes the different tiers is what kind of liquor they give you. Like if you're going bottom of shelf, mid shelf, top shelf.
Oh, okay.
And that's the different price points. But beer is usually almost always included. So
the
people
crowd
just get shit hammered.
The crowd was not shy about anything.
Especially for fuck this match.
Britt Baker won with lockjaw. That's how little we're going to talk about what actually happened during the match. Because it's what happened after the match that is rightfully getting flack from just about everyone everywhere. Britt Baker grabs the mic and gives what might be the worst promo I've seen in a very long time. She seems almost drunk.
I think honestly, I think just by how she wrestled the match, I think she was drunk.
That would at least be a reasonable excuse, because I hope this isn't her cutting a sober promo.
No, and if it is, it's pathetic. But like, she fell into every trap that they tell you not to do. You don't let the crowd control you. Mm-hmm. You don't listen to the crowd. You hit your pop points, and you don't ramble.
But it was more than the rambling, because she rambles. So she rambles through this thing about how Tony Schiavone used to work at Starbucks, and then she goes on to reiterate that point 3 times as if she's forgotten what her next point is. And then the crowd chants, "Fuck you, Britt," and she responds by saying she's a role model and the hottest girl on the boat, despite the fact that she wasn't even the hottest girl in the match. And she legit says, "Don't hate me because I'm beautiful," like she's a 4th grader. And then pauses as if she has no idea what else she's going to say. And then she seemed drunk. She was like slurring and like talking really slow. It was weird, man. And then she says, quote, "Listen, I'm smart, I'm educated, I'm brilliant, and Tony, I'm a dentist," end quote. And I don't know. There's so many people to blame for this. You're right that she disregarded a lot of rules. The biggest kind of thing that she didn't manage to do here was, I think this promo would have been just fine if her delivery had been confident, but it wasn't at all.
No. And
it seemed like she didn't know what the fuck she was doing or where she was going or what she was supposed to say. And clearly there wasn't any point to it because they cut to commercial in mid-sentence without her saying anything important other than shitting on Tony Schiavone.
And you can tell, like, they were in JR's ear yelling at him, "Hit the commercial. We got to hit the commercial. Just go ahead and say it now. We're cutting her off." And this is even on an edited show. They said, "Fuck it. We're going to show half of this because we have to show something."
They cut away from it on Fight. They cut to commercial on Fight. That's how fucking awkward it was.
And so it's very
on a taped show.
If she was drunk, I would be less harsh about it.
Oh, I mean,
because
that's a different problem.
Well, at least then we would have an explanation. The issue I really have about this is, like, you have so many great talkers in this company. She is dating a great talker. So what the fuck is your problem?
Some people aren't cut out for that, which is probably a bigger discussion that we're about to have. But
maybe, but it's just like, you can't do heel, you can't do face, and being a heel is easy. Anyone can be an asshole.
And maybe this is like a bold new heel character for her, but I find it hard to believe. Mostly because being a terrible promo isn't much of a gimmick, you know. I really wonder why they chose to include this in the show at all. It seems rather cruel to me to sort of send her out there when they know that she bombed, and they could have just shown the Pac promo that they showed on Road 2. They could have played that instead.
I think that they didn't know. They wanted to debut Priscilla Kelly because that was important.
Sure, but they could have cut this whole post-match thing.
Yeah, I think that's just it. They just didn't know how, and it may honestly be that they just didn't have time to.
Yeah. But they didn't want anyone seeing the rest of that promo, and there was clearly more of it. So
I'm waiting for people to get off the boat because I've heard that the internet service, even for the people that have paid for it, is very spotty. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking forward to seeing some interesting Reddit and Twitter posts when people start getting off the boat.
The bigger discussion for me is, I know this is going to sound overly negative on her, but Baker has failed to represent any value as a performer to me in this company. She's shockingly green. She's pretty terrible in the ring. She's a horrendous promo. I am beside myself that she continues to get TV time, and I can only assume it's because she's either really nice or they're really desperate, or both. Because she's bad at all of the things that you are supposed to be good at in order to work in this company. She's like a Baron Corbin type performer that I watch and legitimately wonder, why on earth would you give this person money to make your show look bad?
I think it is that she does strike me as a really nice person.
Mm-hmm.
And they are, the Bucks and Tony and Cody, they're all doing, say what you will, they're doing Adam Cole a real big favor here. And they're giving his girlfriend, this is, quote, her dream. And so but it's clear that she doesn't care. She wants to do this because it's my dream, but I'm going to go continue my day job that I make money at.
Sure. And she should. She'd be a fucking idiot not to. But
it's also just like, I'm in the same boat as you, like that they continue to put all this faith and trust in her, and that they continue putting essentially the company's back on her for the women's division. Mm-hmm. And it's like, what? Why? You have so many better performers than her. I get that the first one that you picked to be your face of the company ended up failing and became a weird situation entirely.
But like Sheeta and Swole and Nyla, not on the boat. But Britt's on the boat.
Well, Nyla was on the boat.
Oh, well, they should have given her something to do then because fuck, man.
But it's just like, why would you, you have proven that you pivot on things and you jump on what the crowd is telling you. The entire crowd is telling you Britt fucking sucks, and you're still investing so much time and energy behind it.
And it's really not to be mean and shitty about it, but the show is called All Elite Wrestling, and there's a place for people who don't know what they're doing yet. It's called the Indies, right? Like,
or Dark.
Even then, dude, I don't even think she's good enough to be on Dark. I don't think she's good enough to work here, dog. Like,
I agree.
If you're painful to watch in the ring and on the mic, you're bringing the team down and you shouldn't work here. Like, I'm genuinely perplexed that she's continued to be used on AEW product. It's hard because, again, all of these people are friends, but they really need to hold their product and fan base to a higher regard and stop giving airtime and opportunity to talents who are this bad. Because it's exactly the type of thing people wanted an alternative to when they turned away from WWE. Is just a world of frustration when they're like, yo, this person's not good, and you keep making me watch them every week. Every single week, even though they're not fucking good. And you're supposed to be the
elite.
Best company in the world. The whole, with WWE specifically, it's like, you're supposed to be the best company in the world. The people who are the best wrestlers in the world are supposed to work here. And you're making me watch a 20-minute promo between The Miz and fucking Baron Corbin, right? And that's why people turned to AEW, is because they wanted a place where how good you were at the job fucking mattered more than how much Vince wanted to play with you like an action figure. And Britt Baker continuing to be on the show despite the fact that she's not good at any part of this job really sucks for me as a fan, man.
Britt Baker doesn't care. This is her side job.
It's really frustrating for me as a fan that she continues to be such a big part of the operation, and she's given opportunity after opportunity, and she biffs every one of them.
Yep.
And rightfully so. The internet has been not kind about this segment, which is tough. It's tough. And maybe that was the point where they were like, no, if you're going to go out there and cut a fucking stinky promo like that, we're going to put it on TV.
We're going to let you see how bad it was.
Right. We're going to put it on TV and we're going to let you burn for it so that maybe it'll light a fire under your ass to be fucking decent at one part of this job.
And
which is cruel, but at least it's like, hey, dog, like,
hey,
if
man,
you're going to work here.
This industry is very much sink or swim.
Yeah.
And I feel like the reason why they cut to the commercial like they did is the crowd probably got too negative to the point like where you couldn't hear anything, they were having to bleep it. And B, I feel like Tony was pissed. Just being honest.
Crowd just starts chanting, fuck, 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 fuck.
Yeah, but it's also like they put him as much as they could, but I feel like she pissed off Tony Khan, and that's not a great thing to do.
Jurassic Express versus Chris Jericho, Santana, and Ortiz. This match manages to pick the show back up and is a lot of fun. This is a more traditional tag type thing, with much of the match being a story of Jungle Boy being isolated in the Inner Circle's corner, receiving all manner of barely legal offense until he could sort of get to Luchasaurus for the hot tag. Definitely more of a traditional thing than their match with Strong Hearts was, which is more of an all-out trios match type thing, Atomicos style. Santana and Ortiz do the handoff stalling suplex thing, and even Jericho joined in this time, which I thought was really funny. They continue to place Luchasaurus and Jake Hager on a collision course. Hager and Luchasaurus brawl into the back, leaving Jungle Boy and Marco to finish the match on their own. There is a cool tease with Marco almost pinning Jericho 3 different times, which was had me on the edge of my seat. And then he takes Judas Effect to the face, and the Inner Circle wins the match and celebrates with some bubbly. Interesting.
I'm just amazed that they were in port and they allowed Jericho to murder a small child.
Yeah.
And there were no repercussions.
Well, it's not U.S. soil technically, right?
You still have to be 12 miles out.
The Hager match. Is it Luchasaurus or is it Dustin?
At Revolution?
Yeah.
Fuck, dude. I don't know at this point. I could see. I think
because it feels like Dustin hasn't gotten his revenge.
I think they're gonna do Luchasaurus because they kind of want to give Hager a tune-up match a little bit. Because let's be honest, it's been a long time since he's been in the ring.
Yeah, it's been a fairly long time since he's wrestled.
And I think they're building the Dustin match for Double or Nothing.
Yeah, maybe. That seems like a long.
It's a long haul. I mean, it's 4 months, but it's still a long haul.
Since he got his arm fucking fractured and shit, right? Like, that seems like a long feud, but okay.
Unless they're going to do it on TV, which is also likely.
Yeah. MJF versus Joey Janela. Fascinating that MJF's flavor text reads, has yet to be pinned or submitted in his AEW career, which is correct. But shocking and clever that they've been able to go this long for it. And it does add a little bit of legitimacy to his character, right? Classic MJF just fucking with the crowd during the picture-in-picture. And Joey Janela, who now has cornrows.
His entire head of hair braided on the boat. God bless him.
Which was kind of awesome, honestly. Gets a blessing from AEW Jesus at ringside during his entrance. Turning from the bad boy to the altar boy.
I can't say that.
I really liked this match a whole lot. MJF doing some hilarious heel shit throughout. He works particularly well with Aubrey, I find, as
he
the
does.
ref. I think they have a really good chemistry and they come up with good stuff to do. With him like pulling her in the way of Janela during the match and stuff, and she's really good at working with him. The finish comes when Joey climbs the turnbuckle just as Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford come out on stage to make out in front of him. For whatever reason.
I fucking love it, dude. I loved it.
Joey goes for the Macho Man elbow. MJF rolls out of the way. MJF hits Joey with the nasty double cross off the distraction for the win, which kudos to Joey Janela for selling that really, really well. And making it look really good. MJF then takes the mic and cuts a promo about Cody's promo last week. Quote, "You said I'm just another chapter in your book. Cody, I am a chapter. I'm the last goddamn one." End quote. Which I thought was great. Of course, out comes Cody, who enters the ring and stands face-to-face with MJF. MJF reminds Cody that he can't touch him until Revolution, and adds insult to injury by saying, "And I'm so sorry." Oh, so terrible. He then, he hands the microphone off to Cody, and then right as Cody's about to grab it, he just drops it on the ground. Just like shitty...
High school,
not even high school,
shit.
like elementary bully shit. Just being like the fucking biggest asshole in the world. It's so good. And Cody grabs the mic and says, "You're right. I can't touch you until Revolution, but they can." And he's, of course, what's funny is he is hearing the crowd chanting something with an F word in it, so he knows it's getting bleeped.
I think they were saying "fuck him up,"
and so you can hear Cody change so that he's promoing only when they're not saying the F word.
Yeah,
so that
because he knows
Right.
it's getting bleeped
he
out.
knows it's going to be edited, which I was like, oh man, the awareness, right? Because I wouldn't think of that, but he knows he has to get I can't, but they can. So they would say fuck, and then he would say I can't, and then he would wait, and then he would say but they can.
And even though, like, even with it, the timing that he had at that cadence, it worked so well to build the drama. And it's also like, this is one of those things like he learned in WWE that you can't learn on the indies.
Right. Just a lot of awareness about the production end of things.
Because like thinking about it, it's the what chant.
MJF, of course, hears but they can, and then turns around directly into a double super kick from the Bucks, who then drag him through the crowd and throw him into the pool. And MJF exaggerates this perfectly, even though I'm sure it was really nice after a match to be thrown into what is unquestionably a heated pool.
Oh yeah, no, it's not a heated pool.
There's no way that
Dude,
pool isn't
it's
temperature
80
controlled.
degrees outside.
Sure, but it's also a multi-million-dollar cruise line. They have temperature control in that pool.
Oh, I'm sure it's temperature controlled, but like it doesn't need to be heated.
No, I'm not saying it's like a hot tub, but I'm saying it's not a pool it's not like if you jump into a pool in New England and it's kind of like a guess even in the summer whether it's
That's
comfortable or not. It's temperature. It's at the perfect temperature for swimming.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure after a match was awesome. Even though he had to pretend like it was terrible. MJF pretends that he can't swim during this, which is hilarious. And I hope that he would pretend to drown and then Cody would save him and then Max would call off the match because Cody touched him. But they didn't go there.
That's a little too much.
It's a little too dramatic. After this, there's a funny little interview where Drunk Hangman says to the Bucks, quote, "I'm surprised we won these titles before you guys did, to be honest," end quote. Which everyone sees as a passive-aggressive dig that it very clearly is.
Drunk Hangman's the best.
They then announce what we're seeing next week in Cleveland. Jericho, Santana, and Ortiz versus Darby Allin and Private Party, which is going to be an awesome match.
It's going to be awesome, but it's such an odd booking.
It's really weird, but you know, I'm good with them mixing it up just to mix it up, dude. And again, trios.
I think
the booking seems to be
part of that's also it's just Jericho coming in like I want to work with those guys.
Yeah, the booking seems to be, hey, let's put a trios match on every show so people get super familiar with this concept.
Yeah, and like I know Jericho has when he was in New Japan, he walked into Ghetto's office and basically said, "Here are the people I want to work with. Let's make this happen." And that list has grown. I feel like this is the same thing that's happened with AEW.
Yeah,
and it's week to week. He's added people to his list, and like these are 3 of the people he's probably wanted to work with.
Yes, Young Bucks versus the Butcher and the Blade should be a great match.
That'd be fun.
Kip Sabian 1-on-1 with Cody Rhodes, and we will see a promo from the #1 contender, which would be the winner of this next match, which ended up being Jon Moxley. Spoilers.
I'm kind of getting annoyed by this. That's the big highlight. We will hear from person.
Yeah, I don't think they should announce it. It's silly, but it is what it is. It's at least saying, hey, Mox is going to be on the thing. It's like if they don't really have super exciting matches, they're like, oh, also, this person will be here doing something, but we're not going to say what. Chris Jericho, AEW World Champion Chris Jericho, comes out to do commentary for the main event of the evening. Jon Moxley versus Pac. Moxley not dressed as a pirate for this match.
Sad, dude.
Very sad. Didn't even have pirate-themed gear. Seems like a missed opportunity to me.
Real big missed opportunity.
About 22 minutes for this match. Great main event. Pac doing a lot of really dastardly shit, focusing on the eye a lot, kicking him in the eye and shit. I
fucking Moxley selling the eye the whole time and doing the match, pseudo eye patch.
They did an excellent job with that.
Yeah.
With the eye thing. I think the eye thing they've done an excellent job with it. They battle up onto the balcony, but no one like jumps or falls off of it or anything. They just sort of battle up the stairs, and then Pac falls down the stairs, and quote controlled falls down the stairs. But it was cool to see them go out and sort of use the environment, use the space more. I think that's the whole point of doing it in an unusual space, is to use it, right? So it was nice to see them use it, in addition to seeing the pool getting used earlier. Pac almost got Mox to tap with the brutalizer.
It was close, man.
I was on the edge of my seat, man. I thought it was really cool, and you know, not a lot of people escaped from that move. So good on Mox for getting that opportunity.
And at the same time, if that had been the ending, I wouldn't have been mad.
No, I would have been fine with either of these guys. It just would have been weird if it was Pac, because I was like, oh, it kind of seemed like you were building this Mox angle, and now it's Pac.
And then you didn't.
Right. But it's Mox who takes the win here, using the sort of lifting super paradigm shift that he does. And the show ends with Jericho holding up his belt at Mox. Very, very pro wrestling ending, but in the best way, because with that, they did say on commentary, it looks like at Revolution, this is going to be the match. So that's, I guess, our first confirmed, definitely happening match for Revolution, even though we know that Cody and MJF is very, very likely.
No, Cody and MJF, yeah, that they can't say that it's Cody and MJF are happening.
Right, because of the nature of the angle right now. They can't say that it's happening, but it's happening.
Yeah, they mentioned it multiple times, with Jericho saying it the most, that this is happening at Revolution. So
yeah,
very interested. The psychology that Jericho was bringing into this was very good as well. He kept switching between Moxley and Pac of who he wanted to win.
Yeah,
it was really
in between shitting all over Excalibur.
Yeah.
The ratings for this week: 871,000 for AEW, 769,000 for NXT. Interesting, because NXT was live and AEW was taped. But it does show you how a new venue does make things interesting, and not just a new venue, but a new type of venue, a sort of a happening, right? Will make people tune in a bigger way. But those are the ratings for those that care. Really solid week. They're in Cleveland next week, which should be fun, and I'm looking forward to it. This is the first time in a while where it's not like an event thing. It's just like an episode of Dynamite.
Yeah, and I think that's honestly a good thing. I think we need to get back to just being like just an episode of Dynamite's fine.
Yeah. But it'll be interesting to see where it goes from here. And the Britt Baker thing, I guess, is the most troubling thing on the mind, because I feel like because I have people get on me on Twitter and they're like, oh, you guys are kind of negative this week about this or that. But like the Britt Baker thing, like the reaction, has been rough, man. And she,
like you can say we were negative, and that's fair. We were negative.
Yeah.
If you think we were negative, don't go on the internet. Because like I
all
saw,
all things being equal, I would love for Britt Baker to be great.
Yeah, I would too. I wouldn't be mad at it. It would be refreshing. And I mean, like, and the reason I say that is like when the Brandy thing came out that she wasn't going to be on the cruise, the amount of like terrible shit I read was horrendous. And I know it's 10 times as bad for Britt Baker, because I'm sorry, that promo was terrible.
I feel bad for her, because I know that she's getting torn apart, and you know, we weren't kind either in talking about it, but like, if you're not good, you shouldn't work here.
Yeah,
you should work somewhere else, because you're not ready, and it's not doing you any favors to get on TV and fucking bomb. Like,
no, it absolutely isn't.
You should be working somewhere else until you are ready, and then you should come and work here.
It's going to be real interesting because, like, you know, they're in a bubble a bit with being on the cruise, and they're all going to get off the cruise. I think they get off tomorrow and see this shit, and it's like, ugh.
Well, they know. The way that was edited with them cutting the commercial in the middle of her promo, that was an admission of guilt.
Oh yeah,
on their part.
I think production knows and has talked to her about it. I don't think they know how bad the actual reaction is yet.
It was rough, man, and it sucked because it was the one thing on the episode. I thought the episode was absolutely nearly spotless as far as an exciting, awesome episode of wrestling television. Just dragged down by this one thing where it was like, what the fuck is going on, man?
Yeah, and like that was most like I was expecting that match to not be received well because of where it was placed after that awesome tag match.
Yeah.
And the match itself was
fine.
It was fine.
If that had been all it was, it would have been like, yeah, Britt Baker's sloppy, but like whatever.
Yeah, and then the promo was like, ooh.
Which is why I was like, why didn't you just cut this whole part? Just cut the whole fucking promo and just have people be like, yep, she wrestled kind of a sloppy match, but hey, Priscilla Kelly's cool, you know? And then we moved on to the next thing, and it would have been, oh, great show. Fantastic fucking show. Which it was anyway. It just had this really, really weird, awkward moment in the middle. And unfortunately, Britt's the catalyst for it again, you know? Because I feel like every week we're like, Britt, what the fuck? And then this week we were like, much. Britt, yo, what the fuck?
What the serious fuck? Yeah.
And I just hope that they find a way over it. Either they find another role for her or they find a way to make her better at some part of this job, because she worked babyface. It wasn't working, so they turned her heel, and that's definitely not working either. So I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with her. Like, if I'm in control of that talent, which I guess is a joint situation between Omega and Brandy and Tony Khan. YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, and podcast services everywhere. Subscribe, review, give us 5 stars, just like Meltzer. It makes us feel so sweet. Jonathan, how sweet?
Too sweet, dude.
Facebook.com/Seeing the Elite. Twitter @Seeing the Elite. And of course, if you need an invite to our Discord server, if you want to be in with, just an awesome group of AEW fans from all over the world, like we were having a party last night watching the show, tinyurl.com/Seeing the Elite will get you the invite to our Discord server, tinyurl.com/Seeing the Elite. But once again, if you want to become one of our best friends, one of our inner circle, head to patreon.com/Seeing the Elite and subscribe to the boys. Thanks to all of you who have watched the show live, and thanks to our patrons, Adam Dyson, Alejandro Diaz, Bill Laviolette, Chai Latte, Chris Genro, Christopher Toumpas, Ale Avoth, Keith Kazulno, Merman, and Peter. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show, for helping us take over this revolution in pro wrestling. Jonathan, do you have anything more for these people before we go?
No.
Oh man, if you like kind of corny but also kind of crazy lines rapped real fast, that Eminem album is wild.
Dude, oh my god. Damn.
I thought it was funny. MJF during the episode this week said, Cody, in a world of mumble rappers, you are a true lyricist. And I felt like this was kind of a subtle reference to the Eminem album dropping this week.
Probably, yeah. The Eminem album, that's pretty fire. If you enjoy that, you'll definitely enjoy some of the television shows that we talk about in Discord, specifically Letterkenny. Top-notch entertainment right there. But yeah, speaking of Discord, just come hang out. Like, we don't always talk about wrestling. Like, even during Dynamite, myself and a couple other members of our Discord, we're talking about books that we've been reading. So
yeah, books. A lot of talk this week about DBZ because we're playing.
Someone bought a bad game.
Playing the new game. Bad's the wrong. Not good though. It's just a fun family of AEW fans, and that we couldn't be more thankful for. So, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back next week with another episode of Seeing the Elite and AEW podcast. Until then, go out and change the world.